and welcome to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast, sponsored by Motivate Training and Management. This is a podcast where we talk to drivers and industry experts to help you maximize your performances on and off the track. Let's get started with today's show. Hello crew and welcome to episode 113 of the Motorsport Coaching Podcast. I am your host Belinda Risley and today I've got a special guest, Adam Blazevic, who's a professional cyclist, and we're going to be talking about the similarities between cycling and motorsport. So I do hope you enjoy the show. If you haven't already, please race over and check out our new membership toolkit. It's currently at $9.95 per month. Where it's got lots of tools and resources to help you maximize your performances on and off the track. Next week, I'll be talking to young karter Alice Buckley around her time in karting. And then we're going to be starting off some podcasts of the latest trends in social media. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I do hope you enjoyed today's episode and get something from it. Have a great day. Hi, Adam. Welcome to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited because this is the first time on the podcast that we've had an elite athlete from a different sport. Can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do and how you do it?
Yeah, so I'm actually a cyclist. So it's something I started when I was pretty young. Probably started racing bikes when I was maybe 9. And then, over the last few years, I've been doing all sorts of disciplines. So racing cyclocross, road, mountain bikes, did a little bit of BMX. And sort of just over here in Australia and been over to Europe a few times racing as well. But it's been a pretty fun journey and it's been really cool. So being able to do a bit of everything, and at the moment still sort of doing some off-road and on-road cycling. But it's been awesome. So.
And how did you get started into cycling?
It's something like, I don't know, I always just sort of did it. It was something as a kid I really enjoyed doing. So I was always on a bike, when I was super young, and then I think I just started riding on the mountain bike a bit more, and then when I was 9 started racing, and it's just really gone from there. I haven't actually stopped since then, so it's just kept going. So you just sort of keep learning, keep progressing, and you sort of go to some bigger races and have some bigger goals and stuff, and it's really just kept progressing, and still at it now. So
you do mountain bike riding now?
So at the moment, still on a mountain bike and racing cyclocross, and I've actually been on the road quite a lot over the last year as well, so probably doing a little bit more of that racing, which has been really fun. So it's really cool being able to switch between all the disciplines because it keeps it sort of interesting, and they're all similar but they're all slightly different as well. So it's really fun.
Because I look at them being all really different, but they're not.
I don't know, I guess
physically I look at them from that physical side.
From a physical point of view, they're all say a mountain bike race, you're looking at maybe about an hour and a half for a cross-country Olympic race. Cyclocross is maybe an hour, and those races are quite intense. So they're like full gas. You're really going for that time, and then you get to a road race, and they're quite different because you can have road races that are short, or some of them, like a Melbourne to Warrnambool or Grafton to Inverell, they're sort of 200 kilometers plus races. So you're looking at about 6-hour race. So physically it's very different, and then obviously off-road you've got certain skills and stuff as well, so it does vary, but they are very similar in terms of when you start doing all of them. So
wow, no, I wouldn't think
that.
But you do have an interest in motorsports. Tell us, how did you get started in motorsports?
I do. Well, I don't know, I've always sort of been interested in cars and racing when I was younger, going to Formula One and stuff in Melbourne, and then just trying to go to sort of races at Phillip Island and stuff. And then, I started studying mechanical engineering at uni. And then I was sort of, after that, I really wanted to try and sort of maybe pursue a career in sort of motorsport with that engineering. And then, it's only sort of been maybe the last year actually getting a little bit more involved with that, with one of the TCR teams, and just being able to sort of help out and get a little bit more involved. And it's been really fun, and I really, really like it. So,
are you addicted?
Maybe, I don't know, it's something about it's just 2 wheels or 4 wheels, I can't sort of get enough of it. So
so why not motorbikes then?
I don't know, it's been that's also another, I do like that as well, but I don't know, there's something just about the cars that I've always liked it. So I've always watched a lot of Formula One and motorsport, and I don't know, it's just something I really enjoy about it, all the I guess like all the engineering behind the cars and, what actually goes on behind the scenes to get a car onto the track, because it's not as simple as turning up to a race weekend and putting a car on a track and going fast. There's a lot of different processes and a lot of things behind the scenes that go on to sort of, give it all together. So
Have you learned something in the last year that you didn't know or you weren't fully aware of before you started your uni degree?
like I guess with uni, like especially like mechanical engineering, like you don't really learn a lot of the practical applications like that you would get, say, like actually working on a race car and saying, okay, this is the process of, say, we're going to pull this apart and rebuild it, but this is how it's done. And it's very different. Like uni, we learn a lot of the like theoretical sort of knowledge, but it's more of that practical and being able to really sort of, I guess, apply that to something, which has been really cool. So
does uni offer those like practical placements?
Not through uni, no. You sort of have to go out and sort of find, like, you do have Formula SA at uni, which is like, that's a really good way to sort of get involved as well. So yeah, I was doing a little bit of that too. But then I think
we've got Karina coming up next week. So yeah, Karina's part.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So that's been like, that was really cool as well, because that's, you're obviously involved in like the design of like parts of the car as well. Whereas I guess moving to sort of like the TCR, it was sort of a bit different because it's sort of a spec series. So you sort of, I guess everything's already designed. So it's more actually, like I noticed like at Philippine over the weekend, it's about making the car go fast around the track. So like setup changes and all that sort of stuff, which is also, really interesting. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So as you said, like being an athlete, I want to kind of pick your brains to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, we see like a lot of the Formula One drivers doing cycling, and pretty much a lot of the supercar drivers doing triathlons and so forth.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the comparison between motorsport fitness and cycling?
Well, I don't know. I think they're both, when you look at them, they're both sort of endurance sports, because like the races can be quite long for both of them. And it's quite demanding as well. Like in motorsport, you have, I guess, like high temperatures inside the car. It's quite intense. Just like the mental focus as well, being like switched on for that whole time. Because obviously you just need to be super aware of what's going on and focusing on everything. And same with like on the bike, like you've sort of got there's a lot happening, especially like say in a cyclocross race. That's sort of like a cross between mountain biking and road. So it's sort of off road, and the courses are about 2 to 3 kilometers, but very technical. So you're sort of, you're going really hard up this like a hill, and then you've got a really technical descent where you have to be super focused, because otherwise, you make a mistake and then you lose a lot of time in the race, or potentially end your race because you've had a crash or mechanical or something like that. So
yeah. And on a race weekend, is it the same? It's like, now that you've been involved in motorsport,
yeah,
is it like the same but different, or really different from?
I think it's sort of it is sort of similar after seeing it, like, because obviously with the bikes, like I know it's still a mechanical object that we're like using. So like you have got a lot of prep, like we're sort of, going over the bikes, checking everything mechanically is right. Obviously set up as well. So say on a mountain bike, you've got suspension on there, so you can change suspension settings. You've got tire pressures. So it is similar for that. Like say like in cyclocross, like tire pressures are super important. So you're looking at one PSI to half a PSI changes can make a massive difference in a race. So I think from that side of you, like you've obviously got bike setup, and then like with motorsport, you've got the car setup, and then that influences like performance, like in the race. So I think from that point of view, it is similar, but obviously they are very different still. So. And
do you have a team that works with you, like in the race team?
So with cycling, like when I've raced in Europe, like we have like mechanics and people helping us. So obviously over there, like I won't be working on my bike. I'll have the mechanics that are, I'll say I need this changed, or we're trying different tires, different wheels, and
you're doing that data feedback, like
so I'm sort of saying, okay, I'm giving them the feedback. Okay, we need to change this because I'm feeling this on the track here, and then we work out, okay, let's change this, and we go out and do another practice lap. So that's more in Europe when you start racing, I guess, like the World Cups and those sorts of stuff, because they're pretty high level races. So you'll have days of practice before the actual race to sort of really dial everything in. But it's also tricky because conditions change over there. So when you're racing in Europe in winter, like one day it's raining, next day it's fine. It can be, snowing. You could literally, I think, when I raced 2017 Worlds in Luxembourg, like it actually snowed. So we weren't really prepared for that. So that was interesting. And then halfway through the race, the snow starts melting and it turns into mud. So then your setup's changing mid-race. You're having to call out to the pits and say, we need different tires, we need to drop tire pressures. So it gets pretty full on in terms of the feedback between you and everyone helping you, because it's sort of a team effort, I guess, at the end of the day to sort of get a result. So.
And it's something like motorsports like that, you have to go overseas to make it. Like, so what is the pinnacle in cycling? Like, obviously, Formula One or IndyCars, depending on what you like.
Yeah, so it really depends. So in cycling, I guess, racing in Europe is where it's at. So to really make a career out of it, you have to go race in Europe. So for cyclocross and mountain biking, that'd be like racing a World Cup season. That's the top level. So that's like the highest level you can get to in those sports. And then on the road, you've got what's called the World Tour, which is, again, the highest level. So you've got, there's, I think, maybe like 20 professional teams. And the aim is to get onto one of those, similar to Formula One. There's only so many teams, only so many spots available. But they're like, that's the pinnacle. And I guess if you really want to try and make a career out of it, that's sort of the aim. And you really have to be going over there to race to try and get the opportunities and, make connections as well. So
when you say opportunities, like you're saying, that's the pinnacle. Like, where else do you go? Like, is it the Olympic team? Is it
I guess for long term, like if you want to pursue it, you're aiming to get onto like a professional team, and then that would be how you race. So you'll race World Cup seasons, and then you also do other races as well. But the aim is to try and get onto a professional team where I guess you have a contract and are getting paid to race and ride your bike. So.
And why do you think that we don't have that within Australia? Because we know, again, with motorsports, that if a lot of those people want to succeed, they're having to flee Australia and to go overseas to kind of get those grassroots. Like, yes, I understand population and sponsorship and so forth. But is that the same in cycling?
It is the same, because it's like, I guess we do have the races here, and we have sort of what you call like the national road series on the road, or you have like the national events, which are sort of the top level here. But I think it's more just the exposure and like the sponsors you have in Europe, where I think it's been around just a lot longer. So it's like very different. Like, say, like a race here, you just don't get the same crowds and stuff. So like at a World Cup in cyclocross, there might be like 60,000 people at a race. Like it's just a lot bigger. So you have all these spectators that are super into it, and then it brings bigger sponsors, and it just all sort of builds from there. So
so I feel like that's a perfect legue into sponsorship. How do you go about getting sponsors, and is it a sponsored thing? How does that work nationally and internationally?
Like sponsors are a very big part of it, because obviously without sponsors, it makes it very difficult to, I guess, go racing. Like it's sort of, there's lots of different levels. You can be sponsored by sort of local bike shops, and then you can sort of get into more serious sponsorships after that. So like after my first time in Europe, I think it was 2018, I started getting sponsored by Giant Bikes Australia. And then, I've been with them for since then. But they're probably my biggest sponsor, but it sort of makes everything possible in terms of like equipment and helping get to all the races and stuff, because it is still quite an expensive sport with everything you need. So like it's really difficult if you don't have the sponsors supporting you to do everything. So
obviously for you to go overseas, you've had to seek sponsorship. How have you gone about seeking sponsorship?
Well, for me, it was funny. Like when I went to Europe the first time, I was sort of sponsored by a local bike shop. So I was still, I had really good support, but not to the level that I've got now. So when I went to Europe, I actually focused a lot on social media when I was over there. So I was really lucky doing a lot of photos and stuff when I was racing. And then I actually was, I had Giant reach out to me towards the end of my trip, just saying, we need to have a chat. And then it sort of went from there. So I went to, Giant Australia head office. We had a little chat, and then I've
I'm
been
sure it
on.
was a big chat, but yeah.
So
I'm
yeah,
sure like your heart rate was pumping. You're like, what?
yeah, it was a big deal at the time because I'd never really been offered anything
Right.
like that in terms of support. And then
Yeah, congratulations. Like, that's a big thing. To have a sponsor come to you, celebrate that win.
yeah, it was really like, it just really wasn't I don't think I realized at the time sort of like what it was. Like I just sort of was doing my thing. Like I hadn't, like, it wasn't like I was winning heaps of races over there. Like I think I won 2 races. But then obviously at the World Cups, it's super hard to go well. So
Yeah.
I wasn't actually like, I just
You
trying
weren't going there to get sponsors.
No, I was just,
benefit.
just trying to do what I could. And I think the social media stuff helped a lot as well because it was showing a bit of an insight into sort of what I was doing and what the racing's like, because not a lot of people, I guess, go over and do it. So people don't actually realize, oh, this is what goes on, or all that sort of stuff. So
I keep screaming from the rooftops that people like to see the behind the scenes stuff about what goes
exactly.
on behind. And
because I think it helps everyone understand as well when you show like behind the scenes and what goes on like every day. Like they're like, oh, okay, this is sort of how it all works, what's involved, because then they just get the overall picture, I guess, of what's going on. So
yeah, that's fantastic. So you went and had this small meeting with Giant.
Yeah.
Did you actually have like a sponsorship proposal at that time? Did you take that with them, or was it just about meet and greeting? And then, tell us about that process about gaining that sponsorship.
Yeah, like I actually didn't have a sponsorship proposal or anything at the time. I sort of just, it was.
So it's okay.
So it was actually, the general manager of Giant, Darren Rutherford. He messaged me and wanted to catch up. And I went into Giant. I think I was in my like school uniform with blazer and stuff. And we had a chat. And then it was, so I was sort of supported that year. And then the following year, so 2018, I went on to a contract with them. And I was, riding for the Giant Australia off-road team. And that's what I've been doing sort of since then. So I've, been with them for the last few years. But, so it was really good. But before that, I was actually still riding like Giant bikes. So I was sort of sponsored through a store that had them. So it's sort of been, I've probably been on Giant for like 10 years, but it wasn't until 2018 that I got offered something that was, at that sort of level. So.
And so obviously being of the caliber athlete that you are, do you get quite often like other bikes coming through, like to offer you to ride it to see if you like it, to try and get you to switch teams or anything like that? Or is it?
It's sort of tricky. Like it's not really like that. Like you may have a few like in the past, but it's not really like that. Like it's been pretty committed to, I think with like once you sort of see someone in a kit, like you're pretty committed to that brand for the time. Like I haven't actually really changed sponsors. I've been really with the same sponsors the whole way through, which has been really cool because you build up a really good relationship with them, and it's just a really nice way to sort of do it and share all the racing and everything. So
and do you invite them to the events? Do they come along? Or?
They've come to races before and stuff, which is really cool because then they get to see sort of what's going on, and then they can also follow through like obviously social medias when you're sharing all the stuff as well. So that's also like something that I really try to focus on too, is sort of trying to show a lot of stuff there as well. So obviously love social media and you seem to be good at it. What do you love about it? I don't know. I think it's just a cool way to sort of share what you're actually doing. And it's just sort of like, I know like I've sort of the last year, I've probably moved into more like doing the content creation myself. Like I've got, like proper camera and stuff. And I was sort of like during lockdowns, because we didn't have the racing. So I was starting to do like little videos and stuff on Instagram, showing a little bit more behind the scenes stuff and more photos just to try and like provide some value, I guess, for the sponsors that I have just because I couldn't race. I think it's just a cool way to show sort of, like share race pictures, or, when you're in Europe, you can just sort of share what's going on. Because I guess not everyone is able to do it. So it's a cool way to sort of share like, this is what goes on at, a World Cup race, or this is sort of how it all works.
Yeah. Sorry, my cat seems to be having a fit. Those who can't see us, the cat's having a fit. All right, so that's about like social media. Do you have a third platform?
I mostly base myself with Instagram, I reckon, at the moment. Like I used Facebook a little bit, but I think for just the audience that we work with, like Instagram's a pretty common one for everyone to be on. Like everyone in our community, everyone's on Instagram, and sort of where everything's getting shared and stuff. And I think it's just a cool platform with like the photo and video and everything. So I think it's a really good way to sort of share a bit of everything. So.
And I still can't get into the habit of saying Meta because it's like Facebook. I feel like if you're going to have a name change, make it from a 2-syllable to a 1-syllable, like best or something. But
it's all changed though. Like I think any social media platform is really good, but I guess my preference is just Instagram at the moment, and even like just trying to use like new features like Reels and stuff like when they sort of come out, because it all in the algorithms and stuff, it all sort of helps with like reach and sort of trying to reach new people as well, because that's another thing with social media now. It's so like saturated, there's a lot of people using it, so it is actually quite hard to build an audience and sort of try find people that are interested and stuff. So
and try and get the fans on board. So it's gone through sponsorship, it's social media. How do you train?
Like training's pretty intensive. Like mostly, we're training like 7 days a week on the bike, and then 1 to 2 days in the gym as well. So I have a coach for the bike, and then I have a coach in the gym, Greg, who's been awesome. So it's pretty intense, and you go through different phases with training as well. So you'll do like base training where you're sort of training through different sort of aerobic zones. You might be sort of more zone 1, zone 2, and then as you build into a race, you start bringing in that race intensity, and the sessions get a little bit shorter, and then you taper into a race. So your volume drops off, but the intensity stays the same, just so that your body's sort of ready to go and you're clearing some of that fatigue from all the big weeks you've done leading up to it. So
awesome, I love it. So when it comes to race weekend nutrition, what does that look like for you?
It's sort of it's different. Like it sort of changes around.
Gels. We don't seem to have the gel thing.
Yeah, like it's actually interesting. Like say we had like road nationals in January, and sort of with riding, like I think before the race you're just trying to load up on the carbs pre-race, and like road nationals is always quite a hot race. It can get up to like 40 degrees, so you're also loading up on electrolytes and stuff before you race, and then depending on the race, sometimes like you'll have like in the longer races you have a bit more solid food towards the start of the races, and then you'll go to more liquids or gels, because it just gets absorbed faster into your body. But it depends, like the amount of carbs you're having per hour and everything. It all changes. Like sometimes you might be having 100 grams of carbs an hour, or you might be doing more. So it really depends.
Do you work out from yourself, or do you have a coach? Or
I work out with my coach, and then I've also worked with a nutritionist as well before to sort of work out, okay, this is what we need to do for this race, and this is what we have to do for this race here. So it does change, and it's quite a tricky thing to get right sometimes. Like you might make a few mistakes, and you do feel that quite quickly on the bike. So
So I'm going to ask an odd question, because obviously in motorsports we know what happens if they need to go to the toilet. For endurance, is it the same on the bike?
Sometimes in a road race you can be lucky, you might be able to stop.
Like the 6-hour thing you're talking about.
Yeah, like so in a road race, because you've got like all the teams and you've got the big peloton, you also have all the team cars behind.
Okay.
Well, there'll be certain parts of the race where like we're still going, but the race isn't on, so the race isn't super fast, and you might see a few other guys all want to stop. So then you might be able to stop, but then if the race is on, then you're in a little bit of trouble. You've either got to try to go on the bike or like, yes.
Do you literally go on the bike?
Yeah, sometimes you have to. Pardon?
Have you been sprayed before?
Oh, no, luckily not. I'm pretty good at sort of avoiding it. You can sort of like see where.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but it's like normally it's pretty good. Normally you can get away with everything. So yeah.
I have to ask the question. I'm sure people are asking this.
I know. I think people would be pretty curious how it works. But the 6-hour races are difficult because it's obviously quite a long time, and you got a lot of fluids and stuff. So yeah.
It's all for science. Adam.
Yeah.
And so about obviously exposure for your sport. How do you go about, apart from doing podcasts, Do you get much exposure in social media?
Yeah, like social media is probably the biggest one. Like sometimes we're lucky, like some of our races, like they'll be like the NRS races, the National Road Series races, they'll be like live streamed on like Facebook or SBS online, or one of the races we did in Adelaide, Tour Down Under. It's normally actually a professional race, but the last 2 years with COVID, all the professional teams haven't been able to come out, but they've actually still run it for us, like domestic teams, with a few professional riders that are Australian that have come back.
Nice.
And that's been really good because that was all been on 7+. That was a really good platform for us to sort of get onto, and I guess more people can actually see what's going on in the race, because I guess some of these races are quite long, so it can be quite, I guess, for a spectator, like it's a bit boring sometimes at the races. So
you don't see it all.
Yeah, you don't see it all, but yeah, that was like Adelaide is a really good one for exposure. But then the rest of it comes through sort of social media for us. So.
Yeah, awesome. And do you have any race weekend rituals or?
Not really, actually. Like, maybe like you just sort of, you have like your pre-race music and sort of stuff like that, which is like, I find that's really important. And I guess for me, like, you'll be going over equipment and making sure everything's like super organized, super dialed. Like that's just me personally. I like having everything really organized at a race weekend because it just makes it a lot easier. Like when everything's happening, you just have, like, I'll normally write out a plan. So like the week before the race, I'll be like, we might, have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'll be like, okay, this time we're eating here, doing this here, just so like it just really it just keeps me really on track with a schedule, so you don't get carried away, or and it just makes it a bit less, I guess, stressful as well, because you just have a plan to focus on, and then you get to the race, and then because the mental preparation is quite important as well for these sorts of races too. So.
Yeah, perfect. Lead it way into my next question. How do you mentally prep for your race weekend?
I guess it depends. Like with us, like you might have goals for a race. Like for me personally, like I've done a bit of work with sort of like sports psychologists and stuff at sort of certain training camps about how this all works. So it's been quite good over the years learning. But I won't actually set like objective goals, like I want to finish first or I want to finish second at this race, because like as soon as that's not happening, then you're like, oh, I'm not actually achieving my goal. So you might pick something else. So say like on a mountain bike race, you might be like, okay, I want to ride this technical section really smoothly here. I want to sort of try and eat in this spot. And then you sort of just come up with like these maybe 4 or 5 little goals to do during the race. And then normally if you do those, like the result will be the result. Like if you're sort of having a good day, you'll be able to get the result that you sort of deserve on the day. And then also for the off-road, like mountain bike and cyclocross, you do a bit of like visualization work. So for like a cyclocross race, the course is like 2.5, 3K, but in practice, I'll like just go through in my head, okay, literally every corner, every feature. So like the night before the race, I can literally remember every single feature on the course, just so you sort of go into a bit of an autopilot on the day. You know what's coming up and are prepared for everything. So.
That's awesome. And do you write down or record or do a debriefing around about your performance after each event? Or
yeah, normally we'll have it like we have a chat with like coach and we work out, okay, this is what we've done well, this is what didn't go so well, and then we look at, so why did these things happen? What happened to cause this? So say like at Road Nationals this year, I made a little mistake with nutrition. So then it was about after the race going, okay, what did I do specifically that caused this problem, and then actually fixing that for the next race, because I think if you don't do that, then it's hard to learn what you do, and then you just keep making the same mistakes each time. So I always like, if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world, it's just another learning opportunity to like improve for next time. So
there's no failures, only learning curves.
Exactly.
You said something that just triggered my thought that I was going to ask, and now I forgot. Oh, recovery is what I was going to ask.
Oh, yeah.
What did you do regarding recovery?
Recovery, like normally we'll have like, say after training sessions or races, you have sort of like recovery drinks. You can sort of do like, cold water.
They're not beers, are they?
No. So you can do like cold water immersion, stretching, all those sorts of things, which are really good. There's nothing too crazy. Like say after a big race, you might have, a day or 2 days a little bit lighter on the bike, where you'll just spin your legs a little bit just to clear everything out.
I'd get on the bike the next day. What are you talking about? Do you ride the bike every day?
Yeah. So even after even road nationals, I think the day after the race, I might have done an hour, and then we went straight back into a training block. So it was sort of 4 or 5 hour rides for the next sort of 5 days before the next race to keep the form sort of going along. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's quite intense sometimes. Yeah, you do feel pretty tired sometimes.
DOMs, like what happened if you got DOMs, delayed onset muscle soreness?
I don't know. Like I used to get that a lot from the gym. Like it's quite difficult, like training in the gym and then riding. Yeah. But then my body just sort of got used to it.
To do strength, and then you go on the bike to do endurance and so forth.
Yeah. So like sometimes, like when I go train with Greg, I think I might have done a 5 or 6 hour ride that day, and then I'm in the gym at night with him. So it's
you do upper body and core.
Oh no, we still do lower body because it's still good to train fatigue. So. But yeah, it's tricky at times. Like it's finding the balance. So yeah.
Crazy. I'm like just speechless. Yeah. I'm just like, whoa, okay then. So how can people follow your journey?
Well, I'm mostly just on Instagram, so it's just my name, like Adam Blazevic, and that's where I post most of my stuff and what I'm doing and everything. So yeah, normally just posts or stories, or that's normally the place I do everything. So.
And what are your goals for 2022?
At the moment, we're just sort of focusing a bit more on the road at the moment. So racing National Road Series, and then potentially looking at going over to Europe to race sort of in a few months' time, and then sort of working towards that goal of trying to go professional on the bike as well. So
going to Europe, pineapple on pizzas, yes or no?
Not for me, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah, it's not something that I do personally.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Adam. I love just hearing the insight into the athletes and what their performance training looks like, mindset, sponsorship, all of those kind of things that we do embrace here at Motivate Training. So thanks again for joining us, Adam.
Awesome. No worries. Thanks heaps for having me. That was really fun.
Yeah, and just one last time, how can people follow you?
Just on my Instagram. It's just my name, Adam Blazevic. So
no worries. So it's Blazevic, and of course Adam's link would be in today's show notes. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this week's show. I really hope you enjoyed that one as much as I did. Now, remember, all the show notes with the links and the specials mentioned in today's show are available over at motivatetraining.com.au. If you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you could head to iTunes or Stitcher, type in Motorsport Coaching, subscribe, and leave us a review. Each week, I'll read them out, and you'll go into a monthly draw to win a fantastic prize. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at motivatetraining.com.au or head over to our Facebook page at Motivate Until next time, take care.